All right, so are you ready to dive into a story that's like pure Americana? We're talking Larry Bird. Larry, legend. The legend himself. But hold on, forget the Celtics, forget the Magic rivalry just for a second. This is about the unlikely, almost unbelievable path he took to even get to the NBA.
You know, it's funny you say that. If you to look back and think, well, of course Larry Bird was a superstar, he lived inevitable.
Right.
But his journey was anything but straightforward. Talking about a guy who was working on a garbage truck one year, but almost single-handedly turning around the college basketball program the next.
It's crazy. Okay, let's rewind all the way back to French Lick, Indiana. Not exactly a hotbed of basketball fame, right? But what was that environment like?
Imagine a small town where basketball is king, but resources are scarce. Bird's family struggled financially. His father dealt with alcoholism and tragically took his own life when Larry was young.
Oh, wow.
And on top of that, Larry was intensely shy. The kind of guy who'd rather blend in than stand out. He actually flunked a class to avoid public speaking.
He flunked the class to avoid talking. That's hardcore.
That's Larry.
So how does a kid who's like practically allergic to attention become a global sports icon?
That is the fascinating part. You almost wonder if that aversion to the spotlight pushed him to express himself even more forcefully on the court, you know? His actions spoke louder than words. Even in high school, he was dominating games, but hated the attention from recruiters. There's this famous story about him beating the Louisville coach in a game of horse just to avoid a campus visit.
No way.
Yeah, and get this, even Bobby Knight,
Bobby Knight.
the legendary coach, missed Bird's potential when he saw him play.
Seriously. Bobby Knight missed it. It really makes you wonder how many other Larry Birds are out there overlooked because they don't fit the mold.
It's a reminder that talent can come from the most unexpected places and might need a discerning eye to recognize it. Now, Bird did get a scholarship to Indiana University Nike's program. You'd think that's the dream scenario, right?
Yeah, you would think so, especially with a talent like Bird's. But it wasn't a fairy tale ending. What happened at Indiana?
So this is where things get really interesting. The sources suggest it was a total culture clash. Burr felt completely out of place in that big university environment. You have to remember, he was a small-town kid thrust into a very different world.
Right.
He felt overwhelmed, isolated, and struggled to connect with both the coaching staff and his teammates.
It's almost a classic fish out of water story, except with basketball.
Yeah.
So what did he do?
He left.
He left?
After only a few weeks, he walked away from Indiana University.
Wow.
It's a decision that might seem crazy for someone with his talent, but it speaks volumes about his character and what he valued.
I'm starting to see a pattern here. This guy marches to the beat of his own drum, leaving Indiana. Like, that must have been a huge blow. What did he do next?
He went back to French Lick and worked on a garbage truck. Played some AAU ball. It seems like he needed that time to reconnect with himself and figure out what he truly wanted.
Almost like hitting a reset button. It's actually kind of inspiring. He wasn't afraid to walk away from something that wasn't right, even if it meant seemingly throwing away a golden opportunity. But somewhere in French Lick, the basketball world was about to find him again.
Enter Coach Bill Hodges, who was then coaching at Indiana State. This guy was relentless. He saw something special in Bird, something others had missed. He kept pursuing him, visiting him in French Lick. Wow. Even convincing Bird's mother, who was initially very skeptical about the whole thing.
So even Bird's mom needed convincing. That says something about his state of mind at the time.
Absolutely. And there's this heartwarming story about Bird's grandmother, Lizzie Carnes, who they called Granny Carn. She played a key role in getting Larry to at least listen to Coach Hodges. She saw how much basketball meant to him, and she trusted Hodges.
Granny Carn to the rescue. It's amazing how those little nudges from the people we trust can change the course of our lives. So what happened when Hodges finally got through to Bird?
Well, there's this almost legendary story about Bird's unofficial visit to Indiana State. He shows up in jeans, no less, and proceeds to dominate the varsity team at a pickup game. He wasn't trying to impress anyone, he was just playing. It was pure, raw talent on display.
Classic Larry Bird letting his game do the talking. But even after all that, did he actually choose to go to Indiana State?
He did, but it wasn't an easy decision. He was still hesitant, a little unsure, but there were a few things that drew him to Indiana State. It was a smaller, more familiar environment than Indiana University. He already knew some of the guys on the team from his AAU day, and maybe, just maybe, he sensed that he could really make a difference there.
So the stage is set. We got a small-town kid once lost but now found with a second chance at basketball glory. And let me tell you, things are about to get really interesting. What kind of impact did this shy, unassuming guy have on Indiana State?
Let's just say Indiana State hit the jackpot. Bird's arrival transformed the program, taking them from relative obscurity to national prominence. It was like watching a phoenix rise from the ashes.
I bet those Indiana State fans were pinching themselves.
Yeah.
Did Bird change his ways at all? Was he suddenly embracing the spotlight?
Not really. He was still that same Larry, uncomfortable with the media attention and fiercely protective of his teammates. He had this incredible ability to make those around him better, not just with his talent, but also with his leadership. He understood that individual accolades wouldn't mean much if they came at the expense of team cohesion.
So it wasn't just about raw talent. It was about something deeper, something that made him a natural leader.
Precisely. He led by example, working harder than anyone else and always putting the team first. His talent, oh, it was undeniable.
He could score from anywhere, pass with pinpoint accuracy. It was uncanny.
Okay, but how did a guy who was working on a garbage truck a year earlier develop such an incredible skill set? Like how?
Well, it was a combination of raw talent, a relentless work ethic, and the perfect environment to hone his skills. Coach Hodges created a system that played to Bird's strengths, a system built on trust and teamwork.
Hodges sounds like the coach every player dreams of, having someone who believes in you,
Yeah,
pushes you, and helps you reach your full potential.
exactly. Hodges saw the diamond in the rough and knew how to polish it to reveal its brilliance. And Bird's brilliance was undeniable. He led Indiana State to unprecedented height, captivating audiences with his unique blend of skill grit and that almost supernatural court vision.
So we got this small-town kid turned college basketball sensation. The media must have been going crazy for him. How did he handle that, especially given his aversion to the spotlight?
That's where Bird's genuineness shone through. He didn't try to be someone he wasn't. He remained authentic, even a bit awkward at times.
And that resonated with fans. They saw a glimmer of themselves in his humility.
His work ethic and his unwavering focus on the game.
It's funny how sometimes our flaws, those things that make us uncomfortable, can actually make us more relatable, more human.
It's a good reminder that we don't have to be perfect to be inspiring. In fact, sometimes our imperfections are what make us truly connect with others.
Okay, so Bird's killing it at Indiana State, drawing national attention and becoming a household name. But something tells me this is just the tip of the iceberg. This is where another iconic figure enters the picture, right? Someone named
Magic.
Magic.
Yes, Irvin Magic Johnson. If Bird was leading Indiana State to new heights, another transcendent talent was emerging at Michigan State. These two forces of nature were on a collision course destined to meet on the biggest stage in college basketball.
This is where the story goes from fascinating to iconic. What happens when these two basketball titans finally clash? I guess a picture of this 1979 NCAA championship game. It's Indiana State, led by Larry Bird, going up against Magic Johnson and the Michigan State Spartans. David versus Goliath, the Indiana State, a team that had never even made to the tournament before, taking on the powerhouse Spartans. Can you imagine the atmosphere?
Electric. I mean, this matchup was more than just a game. It was a cultural clash, a representation of contrasting styles and backgrounds. Quiet, introspective, small-town hero against
Johnson.
the exuberant, charismatic showman, microcosm of the changing landscape of basketball.
Talk about a clash of styles. So how did it go down? Did Bird pull off the upset?
Magic, Michigan State ultimately won, but Bird's performance was incredible. He scored 19 points, grabbed 13 rebounds, and dished out 5 assists.
He left it all on the court.
Even in defeat, sounds like Bird cemented his legacy. What happened next for these two rising stars?
Well, that championship game launched them both into the national spotlight. It was the beginning of a rivalry that would define the NBA for years to come. Bird was drafted by the Boston Celtics,
Okay.
a team steeped in tradition and known for its gritty defensive style. Magic, of course, went to the Los Angeles Lakers, a franchise synonymous with Hollywood glamour and fast-paced Showtime basketball. It was a match made in basketball heaven.
You couldn't have scripted it better. East Coast versus West Coast, grit versus flash. Must have been electric. What kind of impact did Bird and Magic have on the NBA?
Well, their arrival was a game changer. The NBA was struggling at the time, but Bird and Magic brought a new level of excitement and competitiveness to the league. Their rivalry transcended basketball, becoming a cultural phenomenon. People who had never cared about basketball before were suddenly tuning in to watch these two titans clash.
So they didn't just dominate the game, they changed the way people saw the game.
Absolutely. Their contrasting personalities and styles of play added another layer of intrigue. Bird, with his blue-collar work ethic and incredible fundamental, embodied the classic old-school style of basketball. Magic, with his flashy passes and infectious smile, represented a new era of showmanship and athleticism.
It's almost like they were perfect foils for each other.
They were, and they pushed each other to be better, to elevate their game, and to redefine the possibilities of basketball. Their rivalry wasn't just about winning, it was about pushing the boundaries of the sport itself.
So looking back, what's the lasting legacy of Larry Bird, this unlikely hero from French Lick?
His journey is a testament to the power of resilience, determination, and finding the right environment to nurture your talent. He taught us that greatness can come from unexpected places and that sometimes the most impactful journeys are those that take the scenic route. And his rivalry with Magic Johnson, that was pure magic. It captivated a generation, transformed the NBA, and left an indelible mark on the history of the game.
I think we've all learned a valuable lesson today. Don't judge a book by its cover, and never underestimate the power of Midwest kids with a dream and determination. Thanks for joining us for this week's episode of Iconic Seasons 1979. Until next time, keep the dribble low and your eyes up.